There was a man who had spent 40 years studying the human mind, not from the sterile pages of academic textbooks, not from the cold distance of a laboratory, but from the raw and trembling edge of personal transformation. His name was Bob Proctor, and for most of his early life, he was broke, uneducated, and utterly convinced that greatness was meant for other people. Then one book changed everything. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill landed in his hands, and something shifted, not in his circumstances, not yet, but deep inside the invisible architecture of who he was. He began to understand that the world he was living in was not a product of his hard work or his luck. It was a product of his vibration. Bob Proctor would go on to become one of the most sought-after teachers on the planet, a man who stood on stages before millions, who advised Fortune 500 companies, who lived in a state of abundance so complete that people would travel across the world simply to sit in the same room as him. But he never forgot where he started. And he never stopped asking the question that haunted his earliest days of awakening. Why do some people change almost overnight, while others struggle for decades and never break free? The answer, he discovered, was not intelligence. It was not opportunity. It was not even desire. It was something far more fundamental. It was the frequency at which a person was operating, the invisible signal they were broadcasting to the universe every single moment of every single day. And here is what will stop you in your tracks. Bob Proctor believed that frequency, that vibration, could be deliberately, consciously, and permanently shifted in as little as 5 minutes a day. This is that story. And more importantly, this is that exercise. Everything in this universe is energy. This is not a spiritual metaphor. It is a scientific fact that has been validated by quantum physicists, neurologists, and behavioral scientists across the last century. Every atom in your body is in constant motion. Every thought you think produces an electrochemical signal that ripples through your nervous system. Every emotion you feel emits a measurable frequency. You are not a physical being having occasional spiritual experiences. You are, at your core, a vibrational being, and the frequency at which you vibrate determines, with mathematical precision, what shows up in your life. Bob Proctor spent more than 6 decades teaching this truth to anyone who would listen. He was not a man who spoke in vague platitudes or comfortable abstractions. He was relentlessly specific. He wanted people to understand the mechanism, to see, clearly and logically, why their results were what they were, and exactly what they needed to do to change them. And one of the most powerful tools he ever taught, deceptively simple, almost embarrassingly brief, was a 5-minute daily exercise designed to do one thing above all else: raise your vibration on command. Not eventually. Not after years of meditation and self-work. Today. In 5 minutes. In this video, we are going to walk through that exercise with the precision and depth it deserves. We will explore the science behind why it works, the psychological principles that drive its effectiveness, and the step-by-step method Bob Proctor taught to his private students and the audiences of his legendary seminars around the world. You will learn what vibration actually is and why most people are operating at a frequency that keeps them locked in cycles of struggle. You will learn how the mind creates a signal that either attracts or repels the life you desire. You will learn how to interrupt old patterns in a matter of seconds, and how to replace them with a new energetic baseline that changes what you attract, who you become, and how the world responds to you. By the end of this video, you will not only understand the theory. You will have a practice, a living, breathing, daily ritual that Bob Proctor considered one of the most important habits a human being could build. The shift does not take a lifetime. It takes 5 minutes. Let's begin. Most people move through life completely unaware of the invisible force that is shaping their every result. They look at their bank account, their relationships, their health, and they assume those outcomes are the products of their actions. They are wrong, or at least, deeply incomplete in their understanding. Your actions are downstream of something far more fundamental, your vibration. Bob Proctor was fond of quoting the great Wallace Wattles, who wrote over 100 years ago that there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made. Proctor updated that language for modern audiences, but the principle remained the same. The universe is not a collection of solid, separate objects. It is a field of energy, and consciousness interacts with that field in ways that are measurable, predictable, and, most importantly, influenceable. Quantum physics has confirmed what mystics have known for millennia. The observer affects the observed. The act of paying attention to something changes that something. Your awareness is not passive. It is generative. Every thought you direct toward a goal, a fear, a desire, or a doubt is not merely a mental event. It is an energetic broadcast that influences the field around you. Your vibration is, essentially, the sum total of your dominant emotional state. Not the emotion you feel in rare peak moments, but the emotion you return to most often, the default setting of your inner world. If that default is worry, then your vibration is the frequency of worry. And that frequency acts like a radio signal. It finds and amplifies everything in your environment that matches it. Bob Proctor used a powerful analogy. He said that you cannot tune your radio to 98.6 FM and receive the broadcast from 101.1. The frequencies do not match. In the same way, you cannot operate at the vibration of scarcity and receive the experiences of abundance. The signal must match the reception. This is not poetic, it is physics. The reason most people feel stuck is not that the universe is withholding from them. It is that they are broadcasting on a frequency that does not match what they want. They desire abundance but vibrate at fear. They want love but emit unworthiness. They seek opportunity but radiate doubt. The outer world is simply reflecting the inner signal back at them with perfect accuracy. Understanding this is not meant to be a source of shame. It is meant to be a source of power. Because if your vibration is creating your results, then changing your vibration changes your results. Not someday, in real time, as the shift occurs. Bob Proctor discovered this in his own life when he was 26 years old, deeply in debt, working a dead-end job, with no education and no apparent prospects. Within 12 months of applying vibrational principles, his income exploded. Not because he worked harder, because he changed his frequency. The mechanism behind that change is what the rest of this video is about. But it begins here, with a foundational recognition that you are a vibrational being, operating in a vibrational universe, and that your results are always, without exception, a vibrational match to your dominant state. Take a breath. Let that land. Because once it does, truly does, nothing will ever look the same again. If understanding vibration were enough to change it, everyone who read a personal development book would become wealthy and fulfilled overnight. Clearly, that is not what happens. The reason is something Bob Proctor called the paradigm, and understanding it is essential before any exercise can produce lasting results. A paradigm is a collection of habits, mental programs, stored in the subconscious mind that govern virtually every behavior, decision, and emotional response you have. Your paradigm is not something you consciously chose. It was installed over years of repetition, conditioning, and environmental influence, beginning in early childhood, long before your critical mind was capable of evaluating what it was being given. Your paradigm controls your self-image. It controls the amount of money you believe you deserve. It controls how you feel about yourself in the morning, how you respond to setbacks, and how long you allow yourself to feel good before anxiety pulls you back to familiar ground. It is, in the truest sense, the operating system of your life. Here is the crucial insight. Your vibration is largely a function of your paradigm. You do not vibrate at the frequency of abundance because your paradigm, your deep subconscious programming, does not hold a picture of you as an abundant person. It holds whatever picture was imprinted in you years or decades ago. Willpower operates in the conscious mind. It is, by nature, temporary and exhausting. You can force yourself to think positively for a morning, maybe even a week. But eventually the paradigm wins. The subconscious always overpowers the conscious in a battle of sustained influence. This is why resolutions fail, why motivation fades, and why people keep returning to the same emotional set point no matter how many books they read or seminars they attend. Bob Proctor did not teach people to fight their paradigm. He taught them to replace it. Not through force, but through a process that speaks the only language the subconscious understands: repetition, emotion, and imagery. The 5-minute exercise he developed is not a shortcut around the paradigm. It is a precise, deliberate method of reprogramming it, of introducing new vibrational patterns into the subconscious with enough consistency and emotional intensity that, over time, the old program is overwritten by a new one. Think of it like water reshaping stone. One drop does very little. But the same drop, falling in the same place, day after day, year after year, cuts through solid rock. The exercise is that drop. 5 minutes a day. Same place. Same direction. And the stone of your old paradigm begins, inevitably, to give way. This is not wishful thinking. Neuroscientists have confirmed that the brain is neuroplastic, capable of forming new neural pathways at any age, in response to deliberate mental practice. What Bob Proctor taught as spiritual and metaphysical truth, modern science is now confirming as biological fact. The paradigm is not your enemy. It is simply an old program that no longer serves you. And you, beginning today, have the authority to write a new one. Every emotion you experience has a corresponding physiological signature. Fear produces cortisol and adrenaline. Gratitude and love produce oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. These are not abstract processes. They are chemical events that alter the electrical activity of your heart, your brain, and every cell in your body. The HeartMath Institute, one of the leading research organizations studying the relationship between the heart and the brain, has documented that the human heart produces an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond the body. This field changes in real time based on your emotional state. When you feel coherent, positive emotions, love, appreciation, joy, the field becomes ordered and expansive. When you feel fear or anxiety, it becomes chaotic and contracted. Bob Proctor understood this intuitively long before it was scientifically documented. He taught that the heart is not merely a pump, it is a transmitter. And what it transmits is determined by what you feel. This is not metaphor. This is the mechanism by which your inner state creates an outer signal. Your brain operates at different frequencies depending on your state of consciousness. Beta waves dominate when you are busy, stressed, and analytically engaged. Alpha waves emerge when you are relaxed and open. Theta waves appear in deep meditation and the hypnagogic state just before sleep. It is in the alpha and theta states that the subconscious mind becomes most receptive to new programming. The 5-minute exercise Bob Proctor taught is specifically designed to move you from beta into alpha, from a hurried, resistant surface mind into the deep, receptive field where new vibrational patterns can be installed. The technique achieves this not through years of meditation practice, but through a sequence of deliberate mental and emotional moves that anyone can learn. When you consciously generate the feeling of gratitude, you are not simply having a pleasant moment. You are producing specific neurochemicals, altering your heart's electromagnetic output, and shifting your brain into a state where new beliefs can take root. You are, in the most literal sense, changing your frequency. Bob Proctor often said that feelings are the language of the body. The universe, the field of infinite intelligence that he spent his life studying, does not respond to words. It responds to feelings. Your words tell the conscious mind what you want. Your feelings tell the universe what you expect. And what you expect is what you receive. This is why affirmations fail for so many people. They repeat the words without generating the feeling. The words say, "I am abundant," while the feeling says, "I am afraid." The universe reads the feeling every time. The field responds to the dominant emotional broadcast, not the script being recited. Frequency is not a mystical concept. It is a measurable reality. And when you understand that your emotions are the mechanism, the actual transmitter, by which you interact with the field of all possibility, everything Bob Proctor taught snaps into perfect logical clarity. You are always broadcasting. The only question is, what frequency are you on? Bob Proctor's 5-minute vibrational shift exercise is built on 4 foundational movements: stillness, gratitude, vision, and declaration. Each serves a distinct neurological and energetic function. Together, they form a complete sequence that moves your consciousness from its habitual frequency to the frequency of the life you desire. Step 1. Create stillness. The exercise begins with 60 seconds of deliberate stillness. Find a quiet place. Sit in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Place one hand on your heart. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 2, exhaling for 6. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, slows your brainwave activity, and signals your body that it is safe to shift states. Step 2. Enter gratitude. For the next 90 seconds, you are going to generate genuine gratitude, not recite a list, but feel thankfulness as deeply as you can. Think of one specific thing in your life for which you are truly grateful. It does not need to be grand. It can be the warmth of sunlight, the breath in your lungs, the face of someone you love. The key is specificity and feeling. Stay with that feeling until it fills your chest. Step 3. Hold the vision. This is the heart of the exercise. For 90 seconds, you are going to vividly imagine your desired life as if it already exists. Not as a wish, as a memory. See yourself in the scene. Where are you? Who is with you? What does it feel like in your body to already be living this reality? Bob Proctor was emphatic. The image must be held with emotional intensity. The emotion is the signal. The image is the address. Step 4. Make the declaration. In the final 60 seconds, you speak your intention aloud, quietly, if needed, but spoken. Bob Proctor believed that giving voice to the vision activated something ancient and powerful in human consciousness. Your declaration is not a request. It is a statement of fact from the perspective of your future self. Speak in the present tense. I am. I have. I give thanks for. Then release it, completely, trustingly, the way you release a letter into a mailbox, knowing it will arrive. The entire sequence takes 5 minutes. That is it. No candles required. No elaborate ritual. No prerequisite level of spiritual advancement. The exercise works because it engages the precise mechanisms, neurological, electromagnetic, and psychological, that govern how vibration is created and sustained. The most important instruction Bob Proctor gave regarding this practice was this: do it every single day, without exception, before your mind fills with the noise and urgency of ordinary life. Morning is ideal, the moment you wake, before the paradigm reestablishes its grip. Consistency is the entire game. One session produces a beautiful experience. 30 consecutive days produces a new baseline frequency. 90 days begins to produce visible changes in your external world. Not judge the results after day 1, or day 5, or even day 15. Plant the seed, water it daily, and trust the process the way a farmer trusts the soil. The harvest comes. It always comes. This is not the exercise of optimists. This is the exercise of architects, people who understand that the world they are living in was built from the inside out, and who have decided, once and for all, to become conscious builders. Skepticism is healthy, and the most common objection to this exercise is the simplest one. 5 minutes? Really? It seems too brief to matter. Too small to produce the kind of transformation people are hoping for. But this objection reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how change actually works. Bob Proctor did not believe that transformation required suffering. He was deeply suspicious of any philosophy that demanded prolonged struggle as proof of sincerity. He believed, and demonstrated repeatedly, that the quality of a mental act matters infinitely more than its duration. 5 focused, emotionally charged minutes outperform an hour of distracted affirmations every single time. Consider the nature of compound interest. A small amount of money, invested consistently at a reliable rate of return, grows not linearly but exponentially. The early months look unimpressive, but the curve begins to bend, and then it bends sharply. Your vibrational practice works the same way. Each session reinforces the neural pathway laid by the last. Each repetition makes the next one easier. Each morning you choose the frequency of your desired life. That frequency becomes more natural, more habitual, more you. The subconscious mind does not operate on logic. It operates on impression. What you impress upon it most frequently and most emotionally becomes its dominant reality. 5 minutes of high-intensity, emotionally saturated vision and gratitude impress the subconscious far more deeply than an hour of passive, lukewarm wishing. Neuroscience supports this. Research on mental rehearsal, used by Olympic athletes, surgeons, and musicians, shows that the brain cannot reliably distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physically lived one. The same neural circuits fire. The same emotional responses are triggered. The same learning occurs. Your 5 minutes of vivid, felt vision is, from your nervous system's perspective, a real experience. Bob Proctor loved to point out that every building that was ever constructed existed as a mental image before it existed as a physical structure. The architect did not spend 10 years imagining it. They held it clearly, completely, and confidently, and then they moved. The holding was brief. The building was real. What changes with daily practice is not the length of the session, it is your baseline. The frequency at which you naturally, effortlessly operate begins to rise. You find yourself feeling grateful without trying. You find your visions more vivid, more believable, more emotionally accessible. The gap between your current reality and your desired reality begins to narrow. First in consciousness, then in circumstance. 5 minutes is also strategic because it is doable. One of the greatest enemies of personal transformation is the all-or-nothing mindset, the belief that if you cannot do it perfectly for an hour, there is no point doing it at all. 5 minutes removes every excuse. There is no morning too busy, no life too chaotic. For 5 intentional minutes, start small. Stay consistent. Trust the compound curve. Bob Proctor built his entire philosophy on this principle. Small disciplines, repeated daily, produce extraordinary lives. You have 5 minutes. You have always had 5 minutes. The question has never been one of time. It has always been one of decision. Knowledge without execution is merely entertainment. And there are predictable, universal obstacles that arise when people attempt to practice this exercise. Mental and emotional resistances that, if not understood and expected, can derail even the most motivated individual. Bob Proctor addressed these obstacles with unflinching clarity. The first and most common obstacle is doubt. You sit down to do the exercise, you try to feel gratitude and hold a vision, and a voice in the back of your mind whispers, "This is ridiculous. Nothing is going to change. You have tried things like this before." This voice is not the truth. It is the paradigm defending itself. Expect it. Don't argue with it. Simply return your attention to the feeling. The second obstacle is impatience. You do the exercise for 3 days and nothing appears to have changed in your external world. You conclude that it doesn't work. This is the equivalent of planting a seed, digging it up after 3 days to check if it has sprouted, and concluding that seeds don't grow. The work is happening below the surface, in the invisible architecture of your consciousness. Trust the process. The third obstacle is emotional flatness. Some mornings, you sit down for the exercise and you simply cannot feel anything. Gratitude seems hollow. The vision feels forced. This happens to everyone. Bob Proctor's instruction for these moments was simple. Start smaller. Find something, anything, that genuinely moves you. The laugh of a child. A meal you love. One memory that makes your heart lift. Anchor there and let it expand. The fourth obstacle is inconsistency. You practice for a week, miss a day, feel guilty, miss another, and slowly the habit dissolves. Bob Proctor recommended treating this practice with the same non-negotiable discipline as brushing your teeth. You would not skip dental hygiene because you were busy. You do not skip this. The stakes are infinitely higher. The fifth obstacle is disbelief in deserving. Many people can hold a vision, but somewhere beneath it is a quiet, persistent conviction that they don't actually deserve what they're imagining. This is the deepest layer of paradigm, the unworthiness program. Bob Proctor was clear. You were created by infinite intelligence. You are an expression of the divine. You deserve every good thing you can conceive of. Say that until you begin to feel it. The sixth obstacle is environmental noise. The people around you, well-meaning or otherwise, may not understand what you are doing. They may mock it, challenge it, or simply exhaust your energy with their own limiting conversations. Guard your practice. You do not need to explain it. You simply need to do it. Every obstacle that arises in this practice is a gift. It is the paradigm showing you exactly what needs to be transformed. The resistance is the curriculum. Move toward it with curiosity rather than frustration. Bob Proctor often said, "The only limits in our life are those we impose on ourselves." The obstacles are not walls. They are illusions, made of old thoughts, old feelings, old stories. And illusions dissolve in the light of a clear, sustained, emotionally charged new vision. Keep going. The shift is always closer than it appears. There comes a point, and it always comes, when the practice stops feeling like work and starts feeling like home. The frequency you have been reaching for each morning begins to be the frequency you naturally inhabit. And when that happens, something remarkable becomes apparent. The world has not changed. You have changed. And therefore, so has the world you are experiencing. The first thing most people notice is synchronicity. Opportunities begin appearing with a frequency that logic cannot fully explain. The right person says the right thing at the right moment. An idea arrives that solves a problem you have been circling for months. A door opens that was not visible before. Bob Proctor called this the law of attraction at work, not as magic, but as the natural consequence of operating at a frequency that is aligned with what you desire. The second shift is internal. Your relationship with fear changes. Fear does not disappear, but your response to it transforms. You begin to see fear not as a stop sign, but as a signal. information pointing toward where your next expansion lies. This is the difference between a person who is controlled by their paradigm and a person who is upgrading it. One runs from fear. The other moves through it. Your relationships shift as well. You begin attracting people who operate at similar frequencies, people who inspire, challenge, and expand you. And you naturally spend less time in the company of those whose energy contracts yours. This is not judgment. It is simply resonance. Like attracts like, at every level of life. Your creativity expands. Ideas that once seemed out of reach begin arriving with clarity and confidence. Bob Proctor believed that every idea is a spiritual embryo, a seed of possibility planted in consciousness by infinite intelligence. At a higher vibration, you become more receptive to those seeds, more capable of nurturing them into physical reality. Your health often improves. The stress hormones that flood the body in low vibrational states, cortisol, adrenaline, are replaced with the chemistry of coherence, well-being, and vitality. The body, like the external world, responds to the signal you are broadcasting from within. Most profoundly, your sense of self transforms. You no longer see yourself as a person trying to change. You see yourself as a person who has changed, who is, in this moment, living the truth of their highest potential. The identity shift is the most powerful shift of all, because identity governs everything. Bob Proctor spent his last years on this earth not teaching people to get more things. He was teaching people to become more themselves, to step fully into the version of their being that had always existed as potential, waiting only for the frequency to match. The 5-minute exercise is not a trick or a technique. It is a daily act of choosing who you are. It is a commitment to operating, for at least 5 minutes a day, from the truth of your highest nature, until that truth becomes your permanent address. This is the life Bob Proctor lived. This is the life he wanted for you. And with 5 deliberate, intentional, emotionally alive minutes each morning, it is the life that is already waiting for you, on the other side of a single, sovereign decision. Bob Proctor used to say that the distance between the life you are living and the life you are capable of living is not measured in years of effort or miles of struggle. It is measured in vibration. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is a frequency gap, and that gap can begin closing the moment you make the decision to close it. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are right. The 5-minute exercise you have just learned is not the whole journey. It is the daily gateway, the practice that keeps the door of your highest potential open and your feet moving through it. Bob Proctor practiced principles like these for over 60 years, and he never stopped marveling at their power. Not because they were mysterious, but because they were reliable. Every single time a person genuinely shifted their vibration, truly, deeply, consistently, their life rearranged itself to match. Every single time. So here is the only question that remains. Will you do it? Not once, not when you feel inspired, but every day, as a sacred, non-negotiable act of self-authorship. 5 minutes. Stillness. Gratitude. Vision. Declaration. That is all it takes to begin living as the highest version of yourself. Bob Proctor believed in your potential with a conviction that was almost fierce. He saw greatness not as a privilege for the few, but as a birthright for every human being willing to align with it. You are that human being. This is your moment. And your 5 minutes start right now.